Should you build Heidi? Short answer, probably no. Long answer, this entire video.
ドクターでしたか。私のことはハイディと呼んでいただいて構いません。
Heidi Thompson is a 5-star bard supporter from Victoria, a novelist who is secretly a messenger for Londinium Citizen Self-Salvation Corps, and Kelsey acquaintance who also acts as her messenger, providing Kelsey with information regarding the crisis in Victoria for many years. With Heidi's help, Rhodes Island manages to infiltrate Londinium and ally with the Self-Salvation Corps to help resolve the crisis. Heidi aged just like a fine wine after 14 years. And here Kelsey doesn't look slightly different and zero skin. Oh well, Heidi is a free 5-star that you can get from clearing chapter 10 quest. Specifically clearing stage 10-11. There's no time limit, so you can obtain her anytime. Now, let's see more of her abilities. As a bard supporter, Heidi does not attack but can heal allied units within range. By 10% of her attack, it is a regeneration healing. So you can heal operators that normally can't be healed, and operate a summoned unit. The healing from her tray isn't great if not with the effects of her skill, but useful to heal allies during waves downtime. Heidi's skills will give operators within her range an inspiration effect. Basically will add a certain number of base stats to other operators. She is unaffected by the inspiration effect from her own or other operators. And only the strongest inspiration effect of this type applies for each stat. By the way, Heidi doesn't have her own theme when she is deployed. You know, like Sora and Skulta did. Pretty sad. Now moving to her stats. Heidi has the lowest attack stat among other bard supporter. She got an extra attack from her talent, but it shouldn't be higher than Sora. Although for HP, Heidi got more HP than Sora, and slightly more defense than Skulta, which is useful for her skill too. Since she is a free unit, her redeployment time is 10 seconds longer, and 2 DP cost higher than a normal 5-star bard supporter. As for her talents, Heidi has 2 talents. The first one will permanently increase the attributes of operators within range, giving attack bonus when equipping skill 1. Or defense when equipping skill 2. A nice talent to increase her own and other operators' attributes, depending on what kind of job you want her to do. As for her second talent, keep in mind this talent will only active when you use her in chapter 10 stages. With this, all allies within range will gain an SP recovery boost by plus 0.5 SP per second. It's a high SP recovery boost from a single operator. Sadly, this powerful talent is only active when in chapter 10, and unlocked once you eat her. Heidi has a valuable niece in chapter 10, that probably makes you want to eat to her immediately. But you'll get Heidi halfway through chapter 10 stages. If you feel you are fine without SP recovery boosts, she's not a priority to E2. And this is the list of her potential. It's a decent enhancement, and you can obtain Heidi's token by clearing chapter 10 stages. And currently, Bard Supporter doesn't have module. Then moving to her skills, her first skill. All allies within range will have their block count reduced by 3. And gain an inspiration effect that will boost the operator's attack by some percentage of Heidi's attack stat. The attack bonus is nice. It's bigger than Sora S2 but of course lower than Skulta S3. Two main problems of this skill are that first, it has a very short duration. So the skill won't fully cover some long duration DPS skills like Silver Ash S3. Or even with Extra S3, which is a famous buffed skill. But work nicely with some short burst skills like Passenger S3, Amia Guard S2, and upcoming Operator Irene S3. This skill also have a nice cycle, so you can use it quite often. Also, this skill will reduce the block count of all allies within range by 3. Normally it will make all operators have 0 block count, and normally, it is a problem for ground unit who will let enemy through, but not a problem for ranged unit. And actually in chapter 10, this block reduction for ground unit is useful. Because the cannon mechanism will target operators with the biggest block. And there's an enemy who can increase the operator's block count as well. So reducing someone's block with this skill in chapter 10 can be beneficial. To redirect the cannon fire to someone else. As for her skill 2, Heidi will increase the block count of all allies within range by 1. Boost their defense and max HP. And increase her healing from tray up to 30% of her attack. A good defensive buff and healing for other operators. Giving others a defense of around 200 defense and 100 healing per second. And they also got some extra max HP. The healing isn't something that I find great. The +1 block is also quite problematic. Because when an operator block more enemy, it can be dangerous for them. Especially if it affects operator that doesn't meant to blocking an enemy. And in chapter 10, this skill +1 block can be quite dangerous. But perhaps in other stages, the extra block count will be useful. Especially for operators who can attack a bunch of enemies. Equal to their block number. Now for skill mastery. None of Heidi's skills are a priority to master. But if you want to do it, her S1 will be the one. Offensive related skills will be much more useful and valuable. And zero block niece will be useful for chapter 10, although hardly in other stages. The healing and offensive stat boost from her S2 is useful. But I find it quite replaceable. And +1 block count doesn't have many usages in general content. As for her base skills. When assigned to the trading post, increase order acquisition by +35%. And when assigned to the control center, it will become easier to obtain clue number 5. So, will Heidi become a good operator for your team? Probably no. For healing and buff attack, Sculptor is the most efficient one. And other operators outside of Bard subclass can also provide healing and attack buff. The 5-star Bard mostly become useful because of their other niche. Like Sora, who is often used for her sleep debuff. And Heidi got some valuable niece for chapter 10. But I don't think she will be very useful for you in other content outside of that. Although for Sculptor less Doctor, I think Heidi is a better option for buffing and healing than Sora. Because of her skill's similar effect and faster skill cycle. That should be all. Adios.